What's going on YouTube, and welcome to a brand new video. With every passing generation in Pokemon, we're introduced to 3 new starter Pokemon, all fit with their own set of unique looks and attributes that attract different people to different partner choices when starting out a journey in each game. With Sun and Moon having been out for a fair amount of time now, I look back and reflect on my choices and how they differ from those in earlier games, along with some of the similarities of course. And with all this in mind comes our topic today, my starter choices for every generation in the Pokemon games. Now of course, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that I haven't actually played Gen 4 yet. However, for this generation I'll be making more of a prediction / speculation on what I may pick in the inevitable remakes of Diamond and Pearl that may be coming our way in the near future. Now without further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's start off right at the beginning of everything with Generation 1. Now obviously I'm aware that pretty much anything I say here will trigger some sort of response, as Generation 1 is just that generation that everybody has some sort of opinion on, at least for one or more of the starter Pokemon anyway. So I'll kick this off by just mentioning that during Gen 1's life cycle I played Red, Blue, Yellow and even the remakes Fire Red and Leaf Green, so at some point I picked and played through the game with all 3 or 4 if you count Pikachu starters. For my first ever playthrough though, my Kanto starter I opted for was Bulbasaur. I picked up Pokemon Red for myself and my cousin had Blue. Given that my cousin went straight ahead and picked the cover Pokemon in Blastoise, you would think I'd do the same and go with Charizard. But even though I thought it looked cool, the fact that Venusaur wasn't on the cover and until I had the paperback Red and Blue guide, I didn't even know what Bulbasaur would evolve into, to me was just too much of a tempting mystery to figure out. Although initially I wasn't super happy with Bulbasaur's final evolution design, I came to love it over time, especially as when I learned that picking Bulbasaur as your starter can be a bit more of a challenge than the other 2 options in Generation 1. Now we move on to the Johto region. I've said in the past that I haven't played these games, however since then I've come to remember quite a lot about at least playing through the story upon release, but because of these games being less nostalgic to me, I managed to forget quite a lot about it. That is, apart from my starter choice. Now again, my opinion probably wasn't the most popular choice to make, just like as it might not be now, but since I started in Kanto with this option and had a great time playing, I figured the same might be true for this region. Unfortunately, Generation 2 wasn't nicer to the grass type fans than Generation 1 had been, and that's why when I picked Chikorita for my starter in Johto, I had then signed myself up for a game full of frustration. The fact that Meganium had a pretty bad set of stats, coupled with a not so great moveset, wasn't a massive issue in game, but it was enough to the point where I did consider restarting the game and making a different choice. If I were playing through Generation 2 today though, I definitely feel like it would be a coin flip between Totodile and Cyndaquil. However, my first will always be Chikorita, and that's okay. I mean, at least it was a pretty fun character in the anime, right? Okay, here we go. This is where I upset a few people. I didn't like Generation 3. I especially didn't enjoy the remakes Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Now I'm not saying of course the remakes weren't well made, but just the storyline for Generation 3 as a whole didn't really grab me and hold my attention. I didn't really care for any of the characters either, but regardless I did play both sets of games and I for sure have an opinion on the starter Pokemon of this region. My first Hoenn starter was Trico. Yep, another grass starter for me. I guess I just had a thing for grass types then. However, this is where the story gets interesting. So during my very first playthrough of Hoenn, I was staying at my grandparents' house as I believe they were the ones that brought me the game on release day. Something I rarely do and something I don't really do to this day. Anyway, so I was playing through the early stages of Hoenn quite happily with my Trico, and just before I arrived at the first gym, my console's battery died. I'd left my charger at home. I was so annoyed, and by the time I got back home and my Game Boy Advance was charged up enough to play again, I'd completely forgotten that the whole time I'd played at my grandparents', I hadn't saved the game once. After I cooled down a little, I booted up the game once again and began my journey through Hoenn with a Torchic, convinced that choosing yet another grass starter had cursed me somehow. Diamond, Pearl and Platinum. Generation 4 had the unfortunate timing of being released right around my mid to late teens, so for me Pokemon was honestly the furthest thing from my mind. At the time the only hobbies I had that piqued my interest were parties, football and girls, although Pokemon hadn't completely left my life. Later on, long after the full series of Diamond and Pearl anime had been aired, I found myself watching Pokemon again. I got heavily into the anime and Well, that's as far as it went, honestly. Anime and my age at the time of Generation 4 aside, I did say earlier that I would make a prediction for my starter that I would pick should a Diamond and Pearl remake be heading our way soon. Taking everything into account and given my past choices, I definitely don't see myself picking Turtwig for a starter. As for Piplup and Chimchar, it might honestly come down to a spur of the moment pick, but for right now I could see myself picking Piplup, as while Infernape has an awesome design, I just prefer Empoleon's unique typing, and to be honest I do really like penguins. Here we arrive at honestly the generation that brought me here to YouTube. If it wasn't for my discovery of the Generation 5 games, I don't think I would have come back to the series. At least not when I did anyway. Sun and Moon may have tempted me back, but I digress. Generation 5 was the first Pokemon game I played in years, and it just so happened to be the generation where they really stepped up their game as far as what graphically the DS could do, so really it was a great time to come back to the franchise, and once again I was faced with the same three options: fire, water, grass. Which did I pick? Tepig. Now I really did like Tepig as a design idea, however I wasn't bowled over by its final evolution, but with Generation 5 it honestly didn't matter because even though the starter designs weren't that amazing, the story of Black and White and the theme of the generation as a whole really had you become attached to your starter regardless by the end of the story. I definitely didn't regret my choice by any means, although I did pick Oshawott in White too. We're winding down now as we approach the last two available generations in Pokemon, and with Generation 6, oh boy did we get some interesting starter choices. To start off though, I want to say as games I absolutely loved X and Y, and while the post-game was basically non-existent, I was honestly just so impressed with the crossover to the 3DS console, I was able to completely ignore that factor, and just enjoy the games for what they were, a building block. X and Y and of course Aurus by extension were great in terms of graphics and gameplay to build upon in future titles. Getting back on track though, the starter choices we had in X and Y were Chespin, Fennekin and Froakie. Going into this game based on design alone, I was sure I was going to pick Chespin for my starter, however upon discovering Chespin's final evolution online, that choice was immediately changed. It's not that Chestnut looked bad, in fact I liked it a ton more than Greninja, but just after seeing Fennekin's final evolution I was completely sold. I loved Delphox's design, and when I discovered that it was less popular among fans, it honestly just drew me to it more. Honestly, how could anybody say that this thing is dumb but this idiot with his tongue wrapped around his head is awesome? What the hell happened to your Frubbles, Greninja, huh? What the hell were they thinking? And here we are, we've arrived in Alola, our last stop on our journey through the regions in Pokemon. And honestly, I wish I had a more positive story to end on, but maybe sharing this story will let you know a little bit more about myself, and maybe I'll find some more people out there that have had similar experiences to myself. So let's begin. It's midway through 2016 and the hype for Sun and Moon is really starting to build. They've already announced the starter Pokemon. Straight away I pick out Litten for my starter. I announce it on Twitter, tweeting hashtag Team Litten at various points during the summer into autumn, and even though people were posting and reposting these Chinese leaks touting them as the real thing, and that Litten's final evolution was going to be a wrestler and maybe part fighting type, I'm sat there just going, I don't care. I like this Pokemon and it's going to be great, you'll see. And I was right, kinda. Incineroar was pretty cool, and thankfully it wasn't fighting type. When it came time for Sun and Moon's release, I sat there in front of my three starter choices, debating my partner Pokemon for this journey. In the end, I decided to stick to my guns. I picked Litten. Playing through Sun and Moon, I came across some fantastic Pokemon like Toucan and Salandit, Mareanie, to name a few. But one thing remained right up until the end of my Alola journey. I had not connected with my starter Pokemon at all. I don't know why, I really enjoyed the game, so it wasn't a bad experience in using him. However, upon completion of the game, I immediately said to the people around me, I want to restart my game. I really just didn't enjoy choosing Litten, and to this day the only reason I can come up with is that it just wasn't that exciting to use. It did its job fine, but that was it. There was nothing that stuck out in my mind that involved the starter at all. I'm interested to know though, is this something that you've experienced in Pokemon before? If you have, be sure to leave a comment and let me know about your experiences with starter Pokemon. So that's it, that's my starter Pokemon from every region, every generation of Pokemon. Did we pick any of the same Pokemon? Do you think I should have picked differently? Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, it'd be greatly appreciated. And of course, subscribe for more if you aren't already. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all later.